This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
We learn that people slip, it's only human. Errors show the path to grow and we're improving. Context shakes the way we do our best work. Focus on the system, no blame can hold us back. 5 HOP principles lifting us higher. Learning without blame, fueling our fire. Together we grow, together we thrive. Keeping operational excellence alive.
Today we're not just talking about theory. We're diving into a crucial piece of real-world evidence. We're looking at an evaluation that tested the rubber on the road, comparing traditional root cause analysis, or RCA, against learning teams in one of the toughest environments out there, a large United Kingdom National Health Service hospital. For years, we've talked about how traditional investigations, the ones designed to hunt down a single root cause and usually blame an individual, rarely deliver lasting change. We know that blame fixes nothing, but now we have the numbers and the stories to back up the shift toward operational learning. This evaluation didn't just look at what happened, it looked at how they learned, and the difference is massive. Let's set the stage. Healthcare organizations globally pour significant resources, time and energy into incident investigation, but what are we actually getting for that investment? The hierarchy of effectiveness model tells us clearly, system-focused changes have a greater impact than person-focused actions. Think about it. Changing the system itself is always more effective than just retraining an individual clinician. If we only focus on the person, we're dealing with a symptom, not the systemic disease of the system. The challenge with traditional RCA, as the authors of this evaluation point out, is that it often doesn't prioritize system-focused actions. Why? Because there's an underlying assumption that the system as a whole is well designed or not the fundamental problem. This often results in RCA focusing on recommendations that are person-focused, rather than tackling the complex healthcare systems themselves. For example, RCA often defaults to retraining an individual clinician when a critical lab result is missed, instead of implementing a hospital-wide electronic results acknowledgement system. So the key question becomes, how do we generate more of those high-leverage, system-focused actions? The UK NHS evaluation set out to compare 22 learning team investigations with 22 RCA investigations to see just that. Let's dig into what they found. The results from this mixed methods evaluation are stark, and they prove that the investment in learning teams pays off in measurable outcomes. First, let's talk volume. Learning team investigations yielded a median of 7.5 actions per incident report. Now compare that to RCA investigations, which only generated a median of 3.5 actions. The learning team approach generated more than double the number of actions. That's more learning right off the bat. But quality matters just as much as quantity. Remember the hierarchy of effectiveness? We want system-focused actions. The study found that 57% of learning team actions were system-focused. Traditional RCA, they lagged way behind, with only 30% of actions graded as system-focused. What does this tell us? When learning teams targeted process-focused problems, which the hospital selected them for, by the way, not randomly, they generated not only numerically more actions, but a higher proportion of actions deemed to be of a higher quality, placing them higher on that critical hierarchy of effectiveness model. This isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. It shows that learning teams elevate actions to the effective system-focused level. Now the numbers are important, but the real power of learning teams, the capacity and resilience we champion in HOP, lies in the culture they create. The thematic analysis of interviews with facilitators in the study identified 5 themes, but the greatest area of focus was culture.
We are taking a break from the podcast for this message. Forget heavy theory. The HOP Beginner's Guide series is written by practitioners. They are short, practical books you can actually use. Each guide is a value-packed read filled with stories, tools, and insights from global HOP leaders like Todd Conklin, Brent Sutton, Jeffrey Lith, Brent Robinson, and others. Designed for busy people, they give you the essentials fast and the confidence to put HOP into practice right away. Small books, big lessons. Grab the HOP Beginner's Guide series on Amazon and start your journey to doing safety differently today. And now, back to the podcast.
When talking about learning teams, the interviews used words like supportive, open, safer, and having barriers released. This creates an open culture where people can genuinely learn. Contrast that with the language used to describe RCA, concepts around blame and mistake, fostering feelings of fear and guilt. In RCA, those feelings meant that often people didn't speak up, and the only voice heard was that of the loudest and most senior. This connects directly back to the HOP principle. How you respond to failure matters. If leaders respond with blame, the team shuts down. If they respond with curiosity and care, the team opens up. The culture shift is supported by who is involved too. In RCA, only those directly involved in the specific incident are invited, but learning teams are designed from the outset to be inclusive, involving all people involved with the processes under discussion. This means they include staff who might be lower in the institutional hierarchy, such as healthcare assistants, who often have valuable insights that RCA misses. As we know, workers have the best knowledge and understanding of the problem. When you broaden the perspective, you naturally generate more actions because you're tapping into the true experts, the people who do the work. In learning teams, there is no traditional hierarchy. This approach helps foster a non-biased, blame-free assessment with a focus on system problems. Another powerful difference, highlighted by the study, comes down to the content of the discussions. Traditional RCA focuses intensely on the single specific incident or event, trying to establish exactly what went wrong and distilling a single root cause. This risks oversimplification and a bias against consideration of other safety-relevant factors. It focuses on the last barrier to fail rather than holistically considering other barriers. Learning teams, in contrast, shift the focus away from what happened to a specific patient and instead examine the process as a whole, looking at processes and policies around the patient journey. The discussion relies less on recall of a specific incident and more on understanding how processes operate in real life. This is the very essence of understanding the gap between work as imagined and work as done. By moving away from blame, the conversation naturally shifts to examining systems and ways of working. The flexibility and detail maintained in learning teams led to a higher degree of complexity being maintained. This complexity, informed by rich detail from frontline staff, facilitated the development of more actions and, crucially, more system-focused actions. The learning team phases, learn, soak, solve, share, are the structure that allows this complexity to thrive. The essential soak time, that pause between the first conversation, pure learning, and the second conversation, learning and improving, allows fresh thinking to emerge and prevents that classic trap of rushing to a superficial fix. The findings of this evaluation are powerful. Learning teams are not suitable for every incident. We need to be selective, choosing them when problems are likely to be process or system focused. But when applied correctly, they deliver significant organisational payoff. They generate fixes that stick because they improve the underlying system conditions, not just the individual's behaviour. They enable staff to be supported after an adverse event, directly reducing the negative impact on the second victim. And they empower frontline staff to identify solutions themselves, creating genuine ownership and engagement in implementing changes. This entire approach relies on a safety-focused organisational culture. It requires a leadership shift, stepping back from being the fixer and stepping into the role of the sponsor and supporter. As the authors conclude, empowered staff creating effective outcomes is the best possible result from unfortunate, serious incidents that happen in healthcare. If you're ready to implement this learning, to move beyond blame and chase resilience instead of chasing zero outcomes, remember, learning teams involve curiosity, trust, and the wisdom of the people who do the work. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey with HOP Into Action. I've loved sharing stories, ideas, and practical ways to do safety differently with you. Your support and curiosity are what make this community so strong, and I want to thank you for being part of it. If you're ready to keep building capability, capacity, and resilience, I'd encourage you to check out the HOP Beginner's Guide series on Amazon. Each volume is short, practical, and packed with insights, and the book series is designed for busy people who want real impact, not theory. This isn't the end of the conversation, just the next step in your journey. So thank you again for listening, for learning, for supporting better work. Until next time, remember, small changes, shared stories, and thoughtful practice lead to big results with HOP, learning teams, and the 4Ds.
We learn that people slip, it's only human. Errors show the path to grow and we're improving. Context shapes the way we do our best work. Focus on the system, no blame can hold us back. 5 HOP principles lifting us higher. Learning without blame, fueling our fire. Together we grow, together we thrive. Keeping operational excellence alive.